In this video, I'll be spending 100 days in Pixelmon. Here are my goals. First, defeat a legendary boss Pokemon. Second, explore and defeat 8 gyms. And third, catch Arceus, creator of the Pokemon universe. On the first day, I had to choose a Pokemon. To be honest, the newer Pokemon were pretty weird looking. I thought about choosing Mudkip since he's the best starter, but I went with the OG instead. Right off the bat, a level 50 Persian battled me without my consent, and just like that, Charmander died at the start of the game. Once I left the Persian, she purred at me. I think she was trying to say that only a small percentage of you that watch my videos are subscribed to my channel, so if you enjoy the content, make sure to subscribe. Anyways, I went ahead and got some wood, made some tools, and realized there's 0 mobs in this game. Just Pokemon, so no pork chops for me. In the corner of my eye, I saw a Pokeball just sitting there. I grabbed it and it gave me a Greppa berry. I didn't expect that, but I wasn't complaining. I was starting to get really hungry and this milcery looked like popcorn. That was my sign to get actual food. I had no choice but to eat the berry and it turned my hearts black. Whoever put this in the Pokeball was trying to poison me. But it still tasted good, so I spent the rest of the day getting more of it. On day 2, I found an apricorn and I continued to collect the berries. My Charmander woke up from the dead and we won our first battle with a Pokemon. But shortly after, the ugliest Pokemon came out of nowhere to kill him. The next day, I saw a red rooftop close by and I realized I found a Pokecenter. On my way there, I found a shopkeeper trying to sell me some stones. This guy wanted $8,000 for his rocks. I left him before he could scam me and went to go heal my Pokemon. The Pokecenter looked pretty nice. It had a chest with a bunch of healing items. I healed my Charmander and I thought about making a little home here, but I wanted to find a village. As I searched for one, a message popped up saying a Keldeo spawned in the river biome. And I was like, wait a second, I'm in a river biome. And right across the river, I found him. Never seen this legendary before, but I wanted him. I was sad that I didn't have the balls to catch him, but on the bright side, I did find the village. I found a guy that looked like James from Team Rocket and a Meowth. The nostalgia was hitting me hard. As planned, I made the Pokecenter my home and I made myself comfortable. I looted the blacksmith and found all these new items. I explored the rest of the village and found the ice gym. I saw a bunch of trainers in there that I knew were much stronger than me. I also saw Santa creeping around my house, so I blocked him up with obsidian. The next morning, I talked to some of the villagers and they sent me on ridiculous quests. This one guy asked for 20 diamonds. I wanted to tell him I was busy, but I didn't want to let him down. After that, I planted some apricorns. With enough apricorns, I could make Pokeballs to catch Pokemon like this Chikorita. I also planted some seeds, harvested some carrots, and decided it was time to do some mining. I spent a lot of time mining in the caves. I found new ores, made sure to get some iron, and I found a mineshaft spawner. I also got some lava to pour on the Pokemon that annoyed me. I looked above me and I thought I found diamonds, but they were just crystals. After mining some firestone, I climbed up out of the cave and I checked to see the progress on my farm. I wanted to make some Pokeballs, so I crafted an anvil, cooked some apricorns, made an iron hammer, created some discs, and started hammering. And with that, I crafted some grape balls. I got into a battle with a P-Dub and threw my ball. And with the first attempt, I finally captured my first Pokemon. Suddenly, all of the villagers had quests and I finally got a normal quest for once. Although, I wanted to find someone with a purple exclamation point on top of their head since they give a really special quest. But they're extremely rare and I doubt I'll find them. One guy told me to go to the Ultra Space and I had no idea what that was. Before that, I made a quick stop at the Pokemart but realized I was too broke to buy anything. When I headed out, I found this Mareep and once I killed it, it gave me raw mutton. I guess the Pokemon are the food. That meant if I killed this Miltank, it would give me beef. I guess that's where Ash got his burgers from. Anyway, I found this blue portal and I think that was the Ultra Space. When I towered up, it just disappeared. I guess I'll have to find another one. I found a Zangoose and I thought it looked cool, so I captured it with my last Great Ball. I'd say my team was looking solid, but I wanted more Pokemon. If I want to catch more Pokemon, I need more Pokeballs. And if I want more Pokeballs, I need more Iron Discs. And if I want more Iron Discs, then I need more Iron. If I don't have any Iron, then I need a new type of hammer. But all that wouldn't matter if I didn't have any apricorns, so I planted more apricorns. I also caught a Meowth. Anyways, I had my first trainer battle and got demolished by one Pokemon. After that embarrassment, I spent a lot of time training my Charmander by fighting dogs, ferrets, birds, and even sheep. And I watched him evolve into a Charmeleon. After I harvested my crops, cooked some apricorns, and made a few lids, I crafted enough Ultra Balls for my upcoming adventure. I actually found another Chikorita, and with one attack I thought I almost killed it. But I didn't, and I ended up catching it. Nothing beats having more starter Pokemon on your team. Later on, I found the blue portal again and hoped it wouldn't disappear. I entered in and got warped into a different dimension. I couldn't see much because of the fog. I also found Pokemon I've never seen before. A watchdog, a koala, and one that was literally a sword. There was so much fog that I had no idea where I was going. I found the sword Pokemon again and we kinda just stared at each other. I also found a bunch of dirt blocks floating in the air, an end city that was clearly not in the end, but still had great loot, a nether fortress, and a new biome made of ultra deep sea crystals. Not only that, I found a Poke Center that looked like the ones in the overworld. This dimension was so cool yet so strange. I ended up leaving and got sent back to the overworld. When I got home, I realized I needed a place to store my Pokemon, so I smashed some aluminum, collected sand for glass, and I crafted a PC. I placed it down and said goodbye to my homies. After that, I got some items to make a few more machines. After making all the components, along with some other crafts, I made a fossil machine. I placed the fossil machine, a display case, and a fossil cleaner down. I was going to use these machines to obtain a fossil Pokemon. Apparently fossils can be found in gravel, so I made a boat and planned to head to the ocean. Before that, I found Team Rocket Snake and decided to capture it. I also found a legendary boss that wiped out all my Pokemon in less than 10 seconds. Despite that, I hopped on my Bayleaf and headed to the seas. On the boat, I spotted my first fossil. I placed a door down while I mined it. I went and mined some more since they were really easy to find and I couldn't wait to get back home to see what were in them. First, I had to clean the fossil. As I waited for that, I picked some apricorns to kill the time. Then I put it in the fossil machine and waited to see what I would get. In the meantime, I picked even more apricorns and battled more Pokemon. And once I got back, I found a T-Rex sitting in the machine. I picked him up and saw how ginormous he was. He was level 1 and bigger than my Charmeleon. I think he was a pretty good addition to the team. I spent a good amount of time leveling up my Tyrant. This helped my Charmeleon get some levels as well. I also uncovered some of the other fossils and found an Arctozolt. He was an ice/electric type and this guy was huge. He was cool and all, but I wanted a better electric type, so I swapped him for a sheep. In the meantime, my Charmeleon was learning new moves and was just getting stronger. Later, I got a Kabuto in the machine, one of my all-time favorites and a Pokemon with an insane evolution. I also turned my blue sheep into a pink sheep after just one level. My team was looking strong, but I felt like I was missing something. It was time for me to catch possibly the best and worst Pokemon in the game, a Magikarp. The one I caught was perfect, and after one more level, it turned into this beautiful beast. At this point, my team was looking awesome, but I just needed one more Pokemon to fill up the squad, and for the last slot, I planned on saving it for a legendary. Speaking of legendaries, a Latios spawned in the ocean while I was in battle. I tried looking for him by the ocean but couldn't find him. I checked every place I possibly could and I started panicking. I assumed it despawned, but I wasn't all that disappointed since it wasn't the legendary I wanted anyway. To make the day even better, I got clapped by a purple Blastoise. I cheered myself up by taking on my first gym. I didn't realize how easy it was to battle the trainers. I pretty much took on the entire gym with my Gyarados, one-shotting each Pokemon. When I got to the gym leader, he unleashed a Swinub that grew twice the size of my Pokemon. But that didn't stop my Gyarados from killing his team, and after I won, I received my first gym badge. Pretty soon, I made some new speed boots to help me travel around, and I crafted a healer in case of emergencies. Right outside, I found a gigantic pincer, which I stood absolutely no chance against, sending me straight back to Nurse Joy. In the following days, I spent hours leveling up my Pokemon. I tried my best finding Pokemon that were really high leveled, and I used moves that would take them out the quickest. I also fought trainers as well to help speed up the process. Eventually, I finally got my Charmeleon to evolve into a Charizard, and I got my other Pokemon to evolve as well. Take a look at how massive this guy is. I don't think there's any Pokemon bigger than him. I spent even more hours leveling up my Pokemon to level 70. It took an insane amount of time to grind these levels, but it was definitely the most nostalgic part of the game for me. It brought me back 10 years ago when I would plant my face onto my DS screen for hours, training all my Pokemon to level 100. Thank God I didn't do that here, otherwise the video would have been over. Moving on, I found a legendary boss chilling by my house. I decided to take it on, and pretty much the only Pokemon that was able to stand a chance against it was my Tyrantrum, considering it was a rock type. All my other Pokemon would get one shot and couldn't even attack. Other than my T-Rex, my Ampharos was able to do some damage, but only a little. I kept battling this Ampharos because it was my goal to defeat a legendary boss. Also because I wouldn't be able to sleep that night knowing that I couldn't beat it. I got him low at times, but it was so hard to actually bring him down. After fighting him like 15 times, I was about to give up for good. I was so desperate to the point where I tried killing him in other ways, but it didn't work out at all. I even pulled out the big guns and got my level 1 Kabuto into the mix. At the same time when I was about to call it quits, I became the luckiest man alive. My Ampharos was able to dodge 4 of the other Ampharos' attacks in a row. I guess the little brother's just better. I defeated and got a whole bunch of items. I got an Ampharosite which can Mega Evolve my Ampharos, and I got a Sky Plate. I also found a keystone and decided to put it on as shades. Not gonna lie, I looked pretty good in them. With the megastone I retrieved, I was able to evolve my Ampharos. He looked awesome, but it was even more awesome that I accomplished my first goal of defeating a legendary boss. Now since that's done, it was time to go catch the legendary Pokemon I wanted. I had to go find a roofed forest biome because that's where it would spawn. I eventually found the forest and awaited nightfall. After exploring around for quite a bit, a message popped up on my screen saying a Necrozma spawned in this biome. I searched endlessly through the forest but couldn't seem to find it. I was really hoping it didn't despawn, but that didn't stop me from searching, and soon enough, I finally found him, with his body stuck in a tree. After some air slashes, I threw an Ultra Ball and he immediately broke free. Knowing this would happen is why I brought timer balls with me. Every time you throw a timer ball, the success rate increases each throw. And after 3 timer balls, I captured the Necrozma. This guy looked like an absolute beast when his body's not stuck in a tree. The reason I wanted him so badly was because he had an item that enabled him to fuse him with another legendary to make him even more epic. I also thought he was a good addition to the team since he was a psychic / ghost type, which I didn't have. Not to mention, I can fly super high with him. After having so much fun flying around with him, the mission now was to find a legendary Cosmog in a sunflower biome. Before that, I found something of interest along the way. Next to the sand village, I found a structure that I've never seen before. Right in the middle was a golden chalice. I tried clicking it, but nothing happened. I wondered what it was used for. After marking the chords, I saw another legendary boss close by. I took him on, and this guy was strong, but was a lot weaker than the Ampharos. After killing it, it gave me more of these megastones. In the search for sunflowers, I found this tower in the middle of nowhere. I broke in and decided to climb the staircases to the top. There were chests at the top and I found a splash plate. I feel like these plates are more special than I thought. After the tower, I found another tower and a fire gym. I went in without hesitation and decided it would be fun to take on the whole gym with my grass type. He was doing great, but he didn't last long. The gym leader was really easy to take down thanks to my Pokemon being so high leveled, and once I defeated him, he awarded me with a badge. After the battle, I found another golden Ampharos. I thought about not torturing myself today, but I couldn't resist, and within seconds, I made my Pokemon suffer with me. After that crushing defeat, I went back home to grab my Seviper and I focused on finding the sunflower biome. And after a long search, I found the biome. I waited and waited, and at the time when I thought I couldn't wait much longer, a message popped up on my screen saying a Cosmog spawned. I spotted the little blue guy, but then this Raticate battled me and I couldn't escape. He almost killed my Seviper, which would have been bad because I needed his taunt to stop the Cosmog from teleporting away. Luckily, the Cosmog was still there and my Seviper was able to get him low, and after just one Ultra Ball, I captured him. I was so happy to catch him. You won't believe what this little guy turns into. All that was left to do was to train him, but it actually wasn't that simple. He needed 30 plus levels, and on top of that, the only moves he knew were Splash and Teleport. Fortunately, I had a plan, but before I explain, I want to show you something cool. My Necrozma had special abilities. Not only can he summon bats out of thin air, but he can also spawn in Ultra Space portals, which can definitely be useful later. Anyways, my plan to level up my Cosmog was to fight bosses and to try to find Pokemon gyms. I figured the gyms would have a lot of high level Pokemon that would help train my Cosmog, and at the same time, I'd be completing my second goal of defeating 8 gyms. It would be better to have an EXP share, but those are pretty much impossible to get. Later, I found the ground gym. The Pokemon were pretty low leveled, so I took them out with these. The thing I loved the most about these gyms was how uniquely designed each and every one of them are. A whole variation of blocks, and I love the character designs for the NPCs. When I got to the top, I followed the green arrows and got sent to the gym leader. After a fairly easy battle, he awarded me with the Earth Badge. Pretty soon, I ended up in the desert and found a jungle pyramid. I found more plates along with some other loot as well. I actually found another fire gym in the desert. After taking out the lackeys, I fought the gym leader again and he had an Arcanine that grew into a giant. But that didn't stop me from killing all his Pokemon. And when I did, I received the Volcano Badge this time. After that, I explored around another pyramid and got a fire plate for my Charizard. As time passed by, I found another village with a gym I've never seen before. Apparently it was a feather gym, and all the trainers had Pokemon the same level as mine. One of the trainers had a Scyther that took out all my Pokemon by itself. This was the first gym where I actually had to go back to heal my Pokemon. On my way to the Poke Center, I found an ultimate boss. I healed my Pokemon and went to take on the boss. In a matter of seconds, he one-shot all my Pokemon and I couldn't even dish out a single attack. Meanwhile, in the gym, I faced some of the hardest Pokemon I ever fought. Every time I got this Gligar low, he kept using the spell that would bring his HP back. There was also this one trainer that would beat me no matter what I did. I eventually defeated him only after the 5th try. On the bright side, I found another legendary boss. I took it down with my Gyarados and received a Dynamax candy. After healing up my Pokemon, I then went back to the gym, parkoured around the tree, found my way to the top, and battled the gym leader. As per usual, the gym leader transformed their first Pokemon into a giant, while mine struggled to survive for 2 seconds. But, after one more attempt, I learned from my mistakes and I successfully beat the Feather gym leader. After winning, I received the Zephyr badge and I couldn't have been more proud. I continued the search to find more gyms, but I stopped at a village first to get more carrots. Soon after, I discovered another sand village with a water gym. I took on the water gym and got demolished. I realized my Pokemon were not exactly the best against water types. After I left the gym, I found that my old buddy came back to haunt me, and my Cosmog evolved into a Cosmoem after years of training him. I knew I couldn't beat the water gym with my current team, and I realized that I needed 10 more levels to evolve my Cosmoem. So, I decided to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, and I planned to get my Meganium back into the party. Not only would he help my Cosmoem to get levels, but I also needed him to get levels so that he could beat the water gym. The process would take a long time, but at least there were a lot of high level Pokemon, and my Meganium was good against all the ground/rock type Pokemon. Also, I did this quest for this one guy in the village, and he gave me some gold, so I thought why not make some golden carrots? I could use the food. But I ran out of space in my inventory, so I dropped the carrots, and all of a sudden, this punk swoops in and steals my carrots. I was furious, but decided to let it go. I just didn't understand why he took my carrots. There were carrot farms everywhere. Anyway, I let that little incident slide and I continued grinding for levels. However, I witnessed one of the punks opening other people's doors, so I went to confront him. I decided he needed to be punished, so I dug him in a hole. I also saw these other punks up to no good, so I buried each of them in their respective holes. I knew that this guy here stole my carrots because he loves being around Miss Joy. In other news, I found the most epic looking Groudon I had ever seen in the distance. This guy was gigantic. I think he was bigger than my T-Rex. I knew there was no chance of beating him, but I tried anyway. After a while, a Latios spawned by the ocean, and after seeing the message, I saw him flying towards me. I actually thought that this was the same Latios that I couldn't find earlier. I guess it was destiny for me to catch him. However, no matter how many balls I used on him, he just kept breaking free. He also kept healing himself, which got super annoying. Eventually, I had enough, so I went ahead and killed him. And I was so happy that I did because I didn't have to hear his noises anymore. There came a point where I just needed more inventory space, so I sent out my Necrozma and created a portal to the Ultra Space dimension. I knew that this would come in handy. I eventually found an end city and fought some shulkers. I then proceeded to craft some shulker boxes, and now my inventory is a whole lot cleaner. After constant training, fighting Pokemon after Pokemon, my Cosmoem finally evolved into the legendary Lunala. I took him for a ride and saw how amazing his wings were. A part of me wanted to keep him like this, but I knew I could make him into something even better. It was time to fuse him with my Necrozma, and once I did, he not only learned a very powerful move, but he turned into this beautiful beast. Honestly, he looked a lot better than I imagined, and he was a lot bigger too. I really liked his design, and it was probably the best design I've seen so far in this Pixelmon world. Oh, I can also do this, which splits the two apart and sends him back to his original form. I don't see why I would ever need to, but it's pretty fun to do. I wasn't sure if he was more terrifying at night or in the daytime, but regardless, he looked awesome. Since I had one more space in my party, I brought my Charizard back, and now I had my full and finalized team. This took an extremely long time, but now I have the confidence to take down any gym I want. With that being said, I went to go take on the water gym, and as expected, my Meganium one-shot almost all the Pokemon there. I like battling the gym trainers because I love using one move to take out all their Pokemon. But things only started to become fun once I faced the gym leader. For one, they send out their strongest Pokemon at the start, so I need to find a way to deal with that. 2, they know exactly when to switch out Pokemon. And lastly, their entire team is the same level as my highest level Pokemon, so unless my Pokemon are at the same level, I'm going to always be at a disadvantage. On my way back to the Poke Center, I found an ultimate boss Gengar. Gengar is one of the strongest and my all-time favorite Pokemon. I didn't think I would stand a chance, but I did okay against him, and I actually defeated him. I went to go take on the gym leader again, and we were both down to our last Pokemon. I got a Starmie so low, and I thought I could finally win, but he took out my Charizard in one move, which brought me back to square one. When I came back to the Poke Center, I was absolutely shocked at what I saw. My prisoner had a purple exclamation point, which meant he had the quest that I had been searching for this entire time. I've been looking for Professor Hapu all this time, and who would have thought that the punk who stole my carrots was Professor Hapu himself. Anyways, I wanted to do this quest because the reward is a Dynamax Band, the item that allows your Pokemon to grow into a giant and use special moves. Professor Hapu told me I had to go defeat 75 Pokemon and catch 25, which seems simple enough. I was excited to do the quest because with the Dynamax Band, I could feed one of my Pokemon a special soup to give them a new form. Can you guess which Pokemon I'll feed the soup to? Anyways, I went to fight the water gym for the 3rd time now. My Meganium was definitely putting in the work. He defeated 3 of the gym leader's strongest Pokemon by himself. Surprisingly, when I was down to my last Pokemon and thought I was done for, my Necrozma, the weakest Pokemon in the squad, clutched out so hard and defeated the last 2 remaining Pokemon. And with hard work and perseverance, I earned the Rain Badge. So the mission now was to complete the quest, and defeating 75 Pokemon was a breeze considering the Pokemon around me took 2 seconds to kill. But that was also a problem when it came to catching them, since every single one of my Pokemon's moves would kill them, not make them low. While I figured that out, I fought even more boss Pokemon like this Houndoom. I love fighting bosses because they give amazing drops such as a Meadow Plate, which I can give to my Meganium. When I went to heal my Pokemon, Professor Hopper was gone. Did he escape? Did Nurse Joy let him free? I was worried that I wouldn't be able to complete the quest, but more importantly, he didn't finish serving his time. However, I didn't worry for long, because he came right back into his hole. Meanwhile, it was time for me to finish catching some Pokemon, and with the assistance of a Graveler, I was able to complete the mission. And once I did, a message popped up on my screen about the fallen star. Once I got my Pokemon back, I asked Professor Hapu what that was all about, and he gave me another task to go fight 25 trainers. This guy just can't give me a break. I swear he's doing this because I trapped him in that hole. Anyways, after fighting a few trainers, I found an odd structure out in the savannah. I had no idea why it was here or what it was used for, but maybe someday I'll find out. I also found another feather gym. I didn't need another badge, but I did need all the trainers in the gym for my quest. After venturing out to find more trainers, I found the psychic gym on the way. I made a quick stop to the Poke Center, and then I went to take on the gym. The gym was a maze made up of invisible blocks, but I got through and made it to my first trainer. My team wasn't all that great against psychic types, but I tried my best. Outside of the gym, I saw this blue Pokemon flying around. When I got closer, I realized I found a boss Mewtwo. I guess it makes sense that it's flying around the psychic gym. After that encounter, I used my Minecraft abilities to break into the gym, because I had no time for mazes. And after fighting multiple trainers, I made it to the top to fight the good old gym leader. The amount of pain this guy put me through was immeasurable, constantly switching out his Pokemon just to give me a hard time. However, after multiple attempts, I managed to clutch up once again, but this time it was my Charizard that pulled through, and as he died, he helped me get my Psychic Badge. After a quick heal, I celebrated my victory by battling this Venusaur with my Charizard. It was a really nice fight to watch, probably one of the most classic wannabe ones in Pokemon. My Charizard actually beat him by himself even though the boss had 30 more levels on him. Once I defeated my last trainer, another message popped up on the screen and I went back to visit my prisoner. When I spoke to him, he gave me my reward and I immediately put it on. I went through a lot of trouble getting it, but I finally got my Dynamax band. I was so pumped to actually test it out, and that's exactly what I did when this camera up spawned nearby. I pressed the Dynamax button and I get a new set of moves, and once I use a move, my Pokemon grows in size and gets more HP. However, this is great and all, but I can make my Pokemon transform into something bigger and better if I can craft one particular item. After this boss generously drops an EXP share, I then traveled back home to prepare for my mission. I spent a couple of days organizing my chests and I sorted out all my badges. I had 7 badges and I needed just one more to complete my goal. I also made a chest with a bunch of cool stuff and I made some bowls. For the sake of my sanity, I made sure to get rid of this Lionone who kept repeating his name every 5 seconds. Furthermore, I organized the chest with all the plates I collected on this journey because I planned to use them for something special. I said goodbye to Miss Joy and I headed out. However, I turn around and I see a boss Pokemon nearby. I can't resist a boss fight and I'm sure glad that I didn't because he gave me a lucky egg, an item that can help my Pokemon get crazy levels. After saying one final goodbye to my home, I headed out on my adventure. I headed out to the seas to go find a mushroom biome. Mushroom biomes had the shrooms I needed to make a special soup. In the middle of searching for one, I found another gym. Apparently it was the Steel Gym, a gym I've yet to take on. The trainers were fairly easy to fight, which made me happy, and it gave me a chance to test out all the Dynamax moves on my Pokemon. The one Pokemon I really wanted to see Dynamax was my Tyrantrum. Just look at the size of that thing. One of the trainers had an Empoleon, which I forgot was a Steel type, but Meganium took care of him quite easily thanks to the Dynamax factor. Before I took on the gym leader, a boss appeared on top of a Pokeball. Once I defeated the boss, it gave me a Flyinium Z, which I'll probably use later. As I took on the gym leader, he had an Empoleon as well. When I sent out my Meganium, he switched out his Empoleon for Scyther and switched back to his Empoleon once I brought out my Charizard. When I went to go battle him again, the situation was looking bleak, and I constantly had to revive my Pokemon. I was down to my last 2 Pokemon, and I needed to somehow clutch this to win. So I revived the Pokemon that has clutched for me time and time again. He did his best, but was too low to handle the rest. So that just led my Charizard and my Meganium to try to win the battle. The two Pokemon that I've been training with the longest and my strongest Pokemon as well. And eventually, they beat the last Pokemon and earned me the Mine Badge, which now meant I successfully completed my second goal of defeating 8 gyms. After the gym, I took on another boss, and after defeating it, my Necrozma learned a super powerful move and I got another special item. I then went on to search for the mushroom biome, but then I found another boss on the water. I wanted to take it on, but I wasn't close to any Poke Centers and I didn't want my transportation to die. So I left it in the water and went on my merry way. Finding a mushroom biome is one of the hardest things to do in Minecraft since they're so rare and can only be found in the vast ocean. But after all the pain and suffering of searching for one, I finally found it, and as I landed, I found my first max mushroom. I then proceeded to collect more of them, and with enough shrooms, I crafted a max soup for one of my Pokemon. I went back home and found a level 50 Espeon, which I made sure to capture. I also made a badge case that would hold all my gym badges. Later, I found a trainer, and that's when I took out my Charizard and fed him the max soup, giving him the Gigantamax factor. Getting that max soup took the life and soul out of me. Should I have put myself through all that pain? No. But was it worth it? Absolutely. Just look at how insane this guy looks, and he's not the only one who can get a new form. After that, I headed out on my last final mission, to catch the mythical Pokemon, Arceus. Remember that golden chalice I found in the desert? Apparently if I give it all 17 of my plates, it gives me a special flute to summon Arceus. That sounded good to me, so when I landed, I started taking out all the plates from my shulker box and I put them in the chalice. Once I put them all in, the chalice was surrounded with all these colorful flames. The flames circled around the chalice and I think the chalice was trying to absorb them. And sooner or later, the chalice gave me an Azure flute. That was probably the coolest thing I've seen in this mod. The next step required me to find a time-space altar, which meant I had to go back to the Ultra Space dimension. The altar was rare to find, but not impossible. I just had to check the right biomes. As I explored around, I found some interesting things on the way. As I was minding my own business, all of a sudden I heard nom 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 nom. I was wondering where that came from, and the thing was on top of a tree. It looked like some baby trapped in a shell. After that, I found even more adorable Pokemon, like this penguin with its head stuck in an ice cube, a little ice monster that looked like a Hershey's Kiss, and a teddy bear that looked like he had snot dripping from his nose. I also ended up finding a gym in the Ultra Space. It was a rock gym, and there were so many trainers in here. And I'm not joking, there were probably 20 to 30 trainers I had to battle before going to the top. My Charizard almost ran out of moves. It was a good thing that their Pokemon were super weak. Maybe I should have just came to the Ultra Space for gym badges. Anyway, the big boss was no different than the trainers, and I was able to get my 9th gym badge. So, after the gym, I focused hard on finding the time-space altar. After searching through the ice mountains, I couldn't believe my eyes when I actually found it. It was day 100, and it was time for me to summon Arceus. I pressed the Azure flute onto the floor, and a ring of smoke rose up from the ground. It was finally time to catch this mythical beast. Before I could even send my Pokemon, it attacked me straight away. After a few air slashes, it healed up. I then blew some flames on it and threw a timer ball at it, but it broke free and recovered again. It killed my Charizard, so I had to send out my next Pokemon. After I got him low again, I threw another timer ball. He broke free and healed up, and killed my Meganium. He killed my Tyrantrum and Gyarados and just kept healing up. I was down to my last 2 Pokemon and was afraid that he would wipe my team out, but I still had my Necrozma, and I put all my faith into him since he has yet to fail me. I used his most powerful spell 5 times, but this Arceus was just way too strong for it. Fortunately, my Necrozma was the best candidate to take on Arceus because his moves didn't affect him. I threw a 3rd timer ball, but as expected, he broke free. I threw another one right after and thought at this point he was just an impossible catch. But I didn't give up. I threw one more timer ball, and to my surprise, I captured him. I was jumping like an absolute maniac once I got him. I honestly thought I'd waste all my balls trying to capture him. I felt so relieved and proud to accomplish my 3rd and final goal in this Pixelmon world. I had a lot of fun with this mod, and it definitely brought back some good memories. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate all the support you leave on this video, and I will see you next time.